Welcome, everybody, to Love ADHD. Today, we are talking about number 4 of things you didn't know about ADHD. And I'm excited about this topic because I feel like maybe I experienced it firsthand today and realized why I sometimes feel like a bad human being. So, the topic today is sensory sensitivities. And I shouldn't be rude. I should welcome my beautifully bald co-host, Tony Overbay.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
You're
here.
very,
Thanks for being
you're
here,
very
buddy.
kind. I'm excited because you're going to carry this one today, Julie, because this is one that when we were talking off the air, I was like, oh, I think I know a little bit about this. And then I realized that we'll get to this as I'm smelling my hands from soaps and I've got candles in my office and all these things. But I really don't know much about the sensory sensitivity. So I'm excited to hear your experiences.
So this week, I try to sub my kids' classes if their teachers are gone, right? My background is education. I'm a keynote speaker. That's where I make my money now. But I used to teach second grade for a couple years. And so it's always fun to go back and especially if it's my kids' class. So I don't sub a ton in general, but if my kids, they're still like at the age where they think it's cool, right? Like to have mom around. And I know that's not going to last much longer, probably, right? Or do
Oh,
your kids still think you're cool? Are you
I
like
mean,
always cool? Because you say yes to
I
everything we said. So
I've assumed that I am, but I guess the reality is maybe I've got myself convinced about that. But if I have, I enjoy this reality. It's nice.
yeah, good. It's
Yeah.
a good place to live. Yeah. Your
Yeah.
perception is your reality, right?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. So I go to teach this week. It's 3-day week, 3 days. That's it. It's this vacation has been planned for the teacher since the beginning of the school year. I'm pumped. And I always, when I haven't taught kids in a long time, I go in at the beginning and I'm like just so jazzed, right? I'm like feeling the
Okay.
teacher feels, the sharpened pencil smells. They're calling me
Oh.
Miss Lee. It's all adorable. We're doing attendance and lunch count, and it's just great. And then they just start talking, is the thing. They just have so much to say and so many questions. Don't laugh at me. And it's good for a minute, but then they just don't stop talking. Like even when I'm talking, and and every teacher is going to laugh at this.
Oh, I bet.
And I do that for 3 hours, and I am just ready to murder every child in that room. And it's not the child, I don't think.
Right.
I think they are good kids, it turns out. And I don't think it's me that I'm a murderer. I
I don't think so.
think it wouldn't seem like it. I
Mm.
think I get very, very overstimulated by all that sensory. And
Yeah.
as we've acknowledged, a lot of people could listen to this and say, yeah, I get overstimulated sometimes too. That's like a normal human reaction. I look back though, and I notice so many experiences when I'm the only one that's overwhelmed and everyone else is okay. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I just got to go outside for a second and take a breath. I need to chill. I need to calm down. And I can tell it's something because I'm such a people person and I'm so extroverted.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thing because, we talk about being an introvert versus an extrovert. That's a very kitschy topic to talk about. And where do
Yeah.
you get your energy? And it's weird because as a speaker, I absolutely feel like I get my energy from people. I love speaking to 1,000 adults. It gives me energy. I'm not overstimulated. It's good. But then you put me in a classroom with 38-year-olds and I'm
Mhm.
trying to teach them very simple concepts that don't take a lot of mental work in a different way, right? It's you got to be creative in a
Yeah.
different way to help kids understand, but and I am just it is so much harder to me. So much harder to me because there is the constant stimulus from then because they just have so stinking much to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So can I tell
And they
you,
move and yeah, talk to me.
okay, so my unscientific theory that I'm making up, but I feel pretty confident about is that we've already set the stage a little bit with rejection sensitivity in that episode. We need the right kind of difficult, and then we are just driven to distraction and we dig dopamine. So I kind of feel like if you've got the right kind of stimulus, then it is something that feeds us. But if it's the wrong kind of stimulus, then it can feel overwhelming. And then when it feels overwhelming, then we start getting agitated and panic. And it was like 2019 or so, there was a movement to put hypersensitivity in the diagnostic and statistical manual for therapists and clinicians is part of the diagnosis of ADHD because it is so prevalent. But it's one of those funny things. It's almost like paradoxical or all or nothing. So I'm with you. If the crowd's buzzing, because I like that, then give me all the stimulus. But then if it is something
Mhm.
where I just feel overwhelmed, then I just want to leave. And then if you look at it, what's so trippy is that part is where if our brain gets overwhelmed and I don't know, it should be the same thing. If my heart rate gets elevated, I'm going to go all into fight or flight, but it does if it's something I don't want to do. But if it's something I want to do, then it's amazing. And so I just feel like that's another one of those things where I don't know if it's the rejection, if it's all the sensitivities that can really kind of play into this. So I like what you're saying, because on stage, bring it on, right? I mean, can you just feed off of that
Mhm.
energy? But then it's little kids, and then you got a shelf life there, and you're done. Are there some days
Yeah.
where it wasn't so bad?
So a
Yeah.
few things that I've noticed help, because we talked about that. I don't want to say too much of what we said last time, because we
Mhm.
actually talked about my teaching career and
I know
some of
it's
the
kind of
things I've
fun.
learned and struggles there. It is fun. But so I taught for 2 years before, when I was like 23, 24, pretty fresh out of college. And we talked about last time how it was really hard for me to sit and concentrate and plan. Like, I
Mhm.
really enjoy kind of winging it and kind of just like going with the flow, having a little structure, but like reading from a manual to plan was really challenging for me.
Mhm.
Something I've noticed is now taking Adderall and teaching, it is easier.
Okay.
It's
Well,
so
okay.
much easier even to teach in the way that maybe isn't my favorite, and part of the reason I didn't go back to public education, which is that there is not a lot of creativity that I like, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't say there's no creativity. There's always a program to follow and very certain objectives you need to hit, and there's good things about that, but it was a struggle for me. But when I take my Adderall, I actually do a lot better. It turns out, even in that. And so
Really?
then there can be this part of me that's like, well, maybe I should just go back and teach, but I still don't like enjoy it
Oh.
as much. But I can do it. It's
Yeah.
way less overwhelming as before.
Okay.
It's when I was
Yeah.
teaching before, literally the kid, and there was a lot going on in my life, but when the kids would go to lunch, there were weeks where I would just put on meditation music and literally in the fetal position go under my desk and just like
Whoa.
lay there.
Hey,
There's some
that's a
other stuff
lot.
we could talk about there. Oh, yeah, but it was a struggle, and I was dealing with a lot of other stuff, which we've talked about on
Mm.
other podcast episodes, on different podcasts, but I still think there was something to the overstimuli too, that
Mhm.
was hard when I was really
Yeah.
struggling. And to be fair, a crowd of 1,000 adults, hopefully, they don't have something to say with everything I say.
That's a good
I'm
point.
paid to be there, and I'm kind of the main event, and so is there part of it that's I want to be in control of the stimuli, and then I don't know, but I've just found the the little kid thing is hard. I really enjoy being a mom. I love it. I still get overstimulated sometimes, but it's a little easier to manage that with 2, or even if you have like 7, rather than 30, that you only have that time with them. So
Yeah.
props to teachers. They're
Right?
amazing.
So do you feel like when you were going in now with taking the Adderall, did you just were you able to last longer in the day, but would you still get wiped out, or were there days where you can just be there the whole day and be okay?
Well, I do this thing where I try to only take 1 Adderall if I can, in the
Uh-huh.
morning, but it's like the there's all these weird things with pharmacies and being shortage of Adderall, right?
Yes,
So right
yes.
now I'm taking the quick release, which lasts like 4 hours, and I take it in the morning. And then sometimes I wanna drink caffeine in the afternoon, and I know I can't do both, or I'm too jittery, so sometimes I can make it because I really want a soda, which sounds dumb,
Okay.
but it's working for me to have that to look
Yeah.
forward to. Then I kind of do okay, but yeah, at the end I'm exhausted, but I think maybe if I took the Adderall halfway through, I would do a lot better. I just wanted soda more this week,
Okay.
because
Yeah, yeah.
but in part because I needed something to look forward to, because I don't enjoy teaching as much, but I enjoy seeing my son and him seeing me as a teacher, and that being fun and all of that, that it's worth it to me. I don't want to say it like, because obviously I agreed to do this. I'm just realizing
Yeah.
as a full-time career, ooh, not my cup of tea. And well, I want to tell you a story too. And
Okay.
do we have time for a story right now?
Oh, of course we do. Yeah.
So also, I wrote a post about this on Facebook, and I was actually really
Oh, it
surprised
was
with how
good.
much attention it got. Yeah, and it just made me think, man, this is something we should be talking. People are responsive to this. I'm
Yeah.
glad I was open about it, because sometimes you can feel silly, like you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing in life. Like, I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
trying, and I don't know. I could change my mind tomorrow. I could read a different book
Yes.
tomorrow and have a different opinion, and I'm just always evolving. And I feel like people that are trying to always evolve, they get that. But
Mhm.
sometimes from an outside perspective, it can frustrate people to watch that evolution, and they want things to always be the same way. And anyways, so all of that to say, I wrote a post about how as a teacher, something that I was complimented on a lot, like when I was observed, and something that I was kind of known for is that I have really good classroom management. Okay.
Mm.
So I run a pretty tight ship. I don't put up with a lot of crap, but I am really fun, but it's very structured as far as behavior and things like that. And it's
Mm.
interesting. I was always complimented on that. And I liked that about myself. I was like, yeah. And once again, because now looking back, it's like, because I can't handle a ton of stimulus, I kind of had to
Gotcha.
survive.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I can't have a ton of noise all the time. And it was just interesting this week. I've subbed for my kids' classes here and there every once in a while, but it's usually just like a day here, a day there. This week I subbed for 3 days straight. And I won't say any names or anything, but basically I went in and there was a student I could tell from the beginning was going to be a real challenge.
Mm.
And I went to my default of, this is how it is. You need to be respectful. I was being very strict and just, come again. Yeah, no, we don't do that here, right? Just very
Yeah.
strict. And I feel like I had this moment where I was like, Julie, you guys are going to be together for 3 days. This isn't just a day. And
Mm.
so this is going to be miserable if you don't change. What can you change? Yes, he needs to shape up. Yes, he needs to be respectful. But how do we actually get him there? What's actually going to work here? What's helpful for the child? And as I watched him, he just was always moving and he was
Mm.
blurting out things all the time. And he was tearing at his papers. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just watched this kid and I was like, I don't think this is a bad kid.
Mm.
And I don't know, right? Like, I'm not going to walk around
Yeah.
handing out diagnoses, right?
Right.
But I
Yeah.
saw in him things that I see in myself as an adult that I have learned to manage a little differently,
Yeah.
and things that have offended other people. And I didn't even realize it. And I just gratefully, I made the decision to change how I was interacting with him a little bit. And I started finding every possible reason to involve him and
Mm.
to compliment him and to just be his bud. And with that, I still called him out when he was misbehaving. But it's like we started to have this level of trust building that it's like, he knows I like him because I'm
Yeah.
just like, hey, will you help me do this? Like, hey, will you, and he was, yes, ma'am. Like, he was ready. He wanted to be a part of it. He wanted
Yeah.
to help. And I didn't do it perfectly all 3 days, man. Especially by day 3, I was burned out because it takes a lot of energy when you have a student that is constant like that, constantly talking, constant. But I just noticed such a change in his behavior so quickly. And I just thought, this is a kid that is having such a hard time
Mm.
with, maybe it's ADHD. And if it's not, that's fine. But I'm going to try to treat him as if it is and what I know about
Yeah.
ADHD and think of myself. He was the best. And I loved him. I was like,
Mm.
this is a cool kid that just does not know what to do with himself because he's going out of his mind because he's sitting in a desk all day and he has so much to say. And I'm sure he has had so many people in his life tell him to calm down, to chill. I heard myself saying that, hey, I need you to
Oh,
chill out a
yeah.
little, right?
Yeah. Oh, and there's that
And I
rejection,
just
right? We talked about that. Yeah.
mhm.
He's that. Yeah. Okay.
And I just thought, I'm almost think there's part of me also that I see it, and it's like watching an unchecked version of me that's underdeveloped. And I'm like, no, 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 we can't do that. Like, no, 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 you got to find it. I'm almost like worried for him in his life. There's some projection going. I just tried to switch, and it was just crazy to watch how his behavior changed. And it was
Mm.
still hard. Even with that understanding I have, it was still hard to be around someone that that so openly struggled to be hyperactive, right? And to focus. It was still hard, even knowing what I know and the sensitivity I have to it. That was kind of mind blowing.
So I'm curious if you, as you recognize that, sometimes people say that they have the biggest challenge with the kid that's the most like themselves, or then there's a belief that some of that is that projection or it's hitting our subconscious, or so I'm aware, because then it's like, but what does it bring up in me? Is it that, I don't know, that we didn't get that same grace, or they're pushing my buttons? So what an opportunity for me to kind of just sit with that discomfort. And so I love that you're telling that story, because I think when I've worked with parents who are trying to, if they're like, what do I do? As if they can control the kid with ADHD. When in reality, I know it sounds so cliched, but I think it's like, maybe start with loving him. That would be cool. Or her. Yeah. Which I
Right.
think that one's, yeah, that would be a good place to start. And then you feel like then he responded better to you. This kid did. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the,
Like quickly. And after I'd been really strict and hard on him, like he had every
Yeah.
reason to just be like, peace, I don't like you. I'm going to make your life hard. But
Yeah.
really quickly it was like, oh, I want to be involved. I want you to like me.
So, well, look at
I
that,
just
Julie,
need
because
some
that's the
direction here.
that's
I
that's
just need
where
some help.
yeah, and kids get their sense of self from the external validation of adults, parents. And so if the kids continually feeling like they've done it wrong, then what it feels like to be them is I'm wrong. No, and then that starts
Mhm.
that origin story of what's wrong with me. And so sometimes I feel like it wouldn't be that big of a tweak to then just to validate them before and notice that you're getting annoyed, because then I feel like then the kids they that validation. And I feel like sometimes with especially like with things like ADHD, they're going to act out bigger because they want to be seen. Oh, and so if they're not getting that validation, they're going to get it one way or the other, whether it's acting out or so it's
Mhm.
I like your story here because if somebody has a kid that is pretty hyperactive, then instead of like telling them to calm down, kind of theoretically, that's a parent issue. Why is it bothering me? Why do I need them to calm down? Am I embarrassed of how they're acting? Or am I worried
Right.
that they'll never figure things out? Or because those sound like a lot of me things. Oh, that's hard.
Mhm.
Hey, okay, first of all, that is a great story. And I'm glad you shared that. And it's interesting
Thank
that
you.
you've had this different experience of teaching. So then, of course, now I want to say, so now you'll want to teach anytime that you're asked, and it'll be great, and you'll live happily ever after, right?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No,
All right.
I love what I do so much. I love it so
Yeah,
much, and
yeah,
it's just so fulfilling. So we all have different callings, but there are teachers that love it, right? We talked about this last
yeah,
time, like, use what makes
yeah,
you different, makes you powerful, man. That's who those
yeah,
kids need. But I can step in for a day or two and hopefully be a good influence and exercise some patience, right? That's something I can give.
yeah. Okay, so can I get a little bit nerdy since before we get too far down the road on this topic because
Always,
this is this
always nerd
okay,
it
so
out.
there's actually I think they're a husband and wife couple, Benjamin and Sarah Guyette, and they're both doctors and I think they're in the Bay Area, San Francisco. And I know that Sarah at least works with she's a pediatric neurologist who focuses on the treatment of ADHD. So there's a specialty for you. And she has a pretty interesting article about both the stimulus or sensory overload with autism and ADHD. And we're starting to learn more. I think we've alluded to this that people want to throw ADHD on maybe onto autism spectrum, which again, I'm down for whatever. I'll be whatever. I don't care. But I think this is one where that you start to see a little bit of crossover is that, the response to stimulus. And so they believe that it really is. I think it goes back to that executive functioning we talked about. So we have a trouble almost prioritizing sensory inputs, so then they can, I can be trying to focus on one thing, but all of a sudden I'm aware of sounds or I'm aware of smells or something. And I think I was telling you right before we started when I was thinking, I don't know if this is really as big of a thing for me as I like smell my M&M bag when I open it, or I've got candles all the time. And I just brag to you that, hey, I just got my 15 soaps in from Bed and Body Works or whatever. And I couldn't wait to go smell the one. And I don't know, something to do with smells for me is just so I have to smell it. And, and I've never really looked at that before I mean, everybody does that, right? Maybe
I
not.
okay, I don't know if I have to smell everything, but I am like crazy influenced by smells, my mood.
Are you?
Like,
Okay.
oh, I'm huge candle person, huge. I have all the Febreze thing, Airwick plug-in things. And I'm
Yeah.
also like just tip. I mean, I don't know if Wendy's into cologne, but I am like so into cologne. Like you
Yeah.
can
She's,
be
I am.
unattractive,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
be unattractive and you spray cologne. It's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's like doing it for me. And I love to smell good, even if I'm not going to see anyone that day. I put on
Uh-huh.
perfume and body spray. Like I love it. I'm so impacted by it. And
Hmm.
so I don't know. That'd be interesting if that's part of the sensory stuff, right? That would
Oh,
totally
and
line
it
up for
is.
me.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that, but then there's other ones where this is one of those where I think all the different versions of it in one of the articles I found, because the ones that I don't care about are touch or fabrics or, that sort of thing. And some people that are, they can just say, okay, I just don't want anybody to touch me right now. Or people that don't like certain fabrics or tags on their skin. Or do you have anything like that?
Not that I can think of. What's coming to my mind is like I'm also a very physical touch person. Like
Hmm.
languages of love, I don't know if I've done it in depth enough recently, but physical touch is always real. If not number, it's tip top. And once again, maybe that's in part the physical, the free sensitivities. I love physical touch. If I love it, I have been
Yeah.
touched and not loved it, obviously, right? But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually when I don't want physical touch, I am very I feel very repulsed by it. Very big
Okay.
reaction to that. I really don't like, if I don't want to be touched, not that I like lose my mind over it, but inside I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Okay.
either
So,
one or the
so
other. I love it or I
I was gonna
really hate
say,
it. You know,
hey, all or nothing.
the
So there.
extreme,
Okay. So
all or nothing.
yeah.
Yep.
And here's the okay, so there's touch tactile sensitivities, and I love it. It says triggers, hugs, unwanted personal contact, hair brushing, insert joke there, brushing teeth, touching sticky things, clothing that's too tight or itchy, holding a pencil. I think that's a funny one, pretty specific. Clothing tag, sock seam, certain fabrics. And then you can look for brands that don't have this sensory friendly clothing, but the sound, how are you with sound? Loud noises, fireworks, music. I saw a post of you, something to do with everything that your day ends with loud music in your car. Is that true?
It
Is
wasn't
that
every day.
something I saw?
Yeah, I was saying, yeah,
Oh,
perfect. I love blasting my music. I love loud music, but I have to like the music. But yeah, I like. Wait, what? Oh no, fireworks. No, I'm fine with all that because it's within like a structured thing. I'm okay, but no, I like my kids will. We have this stupid Alexa. I know I'm like a billion years late, but we finally got an Alexa because I bought this home and it's a smart home, and now I'm like, what the heck is an Alexa? And
yes.
they love it, obviously. They're like, play Pokemon, play. And I'm like, I am going to freaking put a bullet through that. I guess I have to buy a gun because I need to put a bullet through Alexa because it is just, once again, the stimulus, right? Oh, I'm going out of my mind. But then, yeah, I blast my hip hop real
You
loud.
do.
So
Okay. Have you asked Alexa yet to make fart noises? I'm just curious, hypothetically.
no, because I'm 33
Oh.
years old, Tony. So
Oh,
I don't
no. I
really
mean,
ask Alexa things like that. Oh,
I
but
would
have
not do.
you?
Oh, I mean, just being funny for other people. It's one of my favorite things to do,
My
Julie.
kid,
It's
I
like
think
really,
my kids did actually. It's one of
it's
your
really
favorite
fun.
things to do.
It
It's
kind
like,
of,
oh
and
my
because it's, I know, and I know,
gosh.
and I, I'm not proud of that,
I
but
literally
we're being,
I don't enjoy potty humor. I'm
really.
not trying to be mature. No.
It
I
it's
like
one of the
seriously, I
main
just am like,
symptoms of ADHD. It's the main symptom of ADHD, potty humor. I don't know if you knew that.
I guess I don't have ADHD then. I guess
I
this
know.
whole podcast
I'm
of
gaslighting you. It's
I
not.
know you are. No, I just don't love it. But okay, do we have anything else nerdy to talk about before we do
I
our
don't think
love
so.
ADHD note?
No, I think that's like the sensory stuff is pretty real, and maybe down the road I've got we haven't even talked about this, but if we want to start bringing a guest or two on, there's somebody that I've had
Yes.
on one of my other podcasts that's she's really big in the just the neurodiversity arena of autism, ADHD. We had a great conversation about how they cross over. I think that might be fun to have people on that might talk a little bit more about that because it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
Is it okay if I do the note today? Because maybe I
I
could
was
do it to
hoping you
the
would.
student. Is that okay
Yes,
to
because
the
I was gonna
student?
yeah, I was gonna make something up there on the fly. So, Julie, what would you
Okay,
say?
dear students, you have got such a great heart, I can tell. And it is okay. There's nothing wrong with having a hard time keeping still. School, modern day public school in a desk is really not like what's easiest for you. It's not where you thrive. And that makes a lot of sense because it's a lot of sitting still and listening to directions and not talking. And I hope that you always have teachers that see the best in you and that find creative ways to always involve you and to see how see what a genius you are and how creative you are. And I just hope that when people do make the mistake maybe of telling you to chill or for not seeing you for what's actually going on, I just hope you always remember that you're awesome and you're going to do great things with it, maybe even better because of those struggles and those gifts that you have. So go take on the world. You're going to kill it. Just stick with it, buddy. Love ADHD.
Well said, Julie. That was
Well said.
wonderful. Okay. All right. So
Thank
we've
you.
got one more in our series of 5 things that you didn't know about ADHD. We'll cover that, and then we're jumping out into the deep end of the pool after that. Right?
Oh, and there's so many good things in the deep end. I'm so excited.
I
We have
know.
a
I
whole
think so too.
list.
Okay, Julie.
Okay.
Thanks for your time as always.
You're welcome. See you later.
Okay. All right. Bye.